Week, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. Doubts arise about a local veteran's claims, and one Oxford Village Council member is not pleased about the 911 deal with Lake Orion.
Stay tuned, learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. After the local paper featured a veteran who claimed to be a Sergeant Major Green Beret, an investigation by the editor of the Oxford Leader was left with more questions than answers about the self-proclaimed decorated soldier. The subsequent military record search shows no records of Nicholas George ever completing a Special Forces qualification course, the SFQC course. And when the editor asked for a copy of his military DD-214 form, which would list his medals and training, he could not provide them, claiming the form was packed away in storage. Further research revealed that there are no records of him receiving a Silver Star or other such accommodations. Although George has been asked to provide proof of his service record, he has not come up with the evidence to support he served in any special forces.
Village Council member Brian Cloutier does not believe the Village of Lake Orion is paying their fair share for the 911 dispatch services, and he would like Council to take a second look at the deal made nearly 2 years ago. In 2013, the Village Council voted 3-1 to provide Lake Orion Village with fire and police 911 services for $20,000 a year. Village manager Joe Young pointed out the figure was agreed upon because Oxford was competing against Oakland County for a $21,000 bid, excuse me. Cloutier cited financial figures indicating that the village was losing money from the deal, causing village taxpayers to fill in for the loss at this time when the council is thinking about raising taxes.
Addison Township employees will soon be changing their health care program to include dental and vision. Supervisor Bruce Pearson has approved the change from the McLaren Health Plan at a total cost, including all employees, will be around $106,000.
It was a cigarette bucket on the back deck that caused a house fire on Augusta Lane last week, causing damage to the deck and the adjacent dining room. Oxford firefighters were able to quickly extinguish the flames before the fire swept through the rest of the house.
A woman called Oxford Village Police and reported an argument at a West Burdick Street funeral home. When officers arrived, they found family members arguing over cremated remains. One family member was en route from a neighboring city to pick up the remains when another member threatened to stop the process with a gun. The remains were turned over to the family member, and police determined there was no gun.
A responsible bar manager averted a possible tragedy last week by alerting officers that a man leaving the business was too intoxicated to drive. Officers found the man sitting outside the bar on a bench waiting for his wife to pick him up. This was an easy one.
A woman living on Lincoln Street in Oxford told officers a woman was pounding on her front door, but the resident was too afraid to let her in. The homeowner told officers that the person was seen heading towards the gas station. Police found her at the business, and when questioned, the woman had personal issues and was trying to get help.
Oxford Township deputies were called to Spezia Street on a complaint that a resident was unstable. Officers interviewed the woman in question, and she confided that her relatives were out to get her. She told police she had a concealed weapon permit and a gun for her protection, but deputies found no such permit was issued. Deputies will keep an eye on the situation.
A routine traffic stop at the corner of West Manor and South Manor resulted in the arrest of a man living in the Lakeville Mobile Home Park. After checking the man's ID on the computer, officers discovered there was an outstanding arrest warrant for possession of cocaine. The man was taken to Oakland County Jail and his vehicle was impounded. Well, that's kind of rough, huh?
Officers were busy this week, weren't they? I'm telling you that. We were talking last night, even the funeral home thing that happened this week. It's amazing how ugly people get in that kind of stressful situation, but our
Yes.
officers have had to do a lot this week.
And today,
Excuse me.
actually, the day that we're recording this is on the 5th of June.
Right.
And today is Police Appreciation Day.
How
I believe it is.
appropriate.
It is. And, you know, really, I mean, you see these officers along the highway, you know, discussing tickets with people and so forth, but, you know, they take their lives in their hands
They sure
every
do,
day, you know.
yeah. Just standing on the highway, and especially if it's M24, they do take their lives in their own hands and everybody else's. And I'm telling you, our guys are just, you know, they have such a human element to what they do and how they deal with people in our community. Yeah.
The village
Hats off to
police
our
with
officers.
yeah, the village police with Chief Niemanowski and the crew that he has. They're all, I think, very, very good people. I see them often on the
Yeah,
street cruising, and actually, I've seen them pick up people that don't have rides and take them home,
Very
and that kind of
nice,
thing.
yeah.
And as you know, on the news, I go to the sheriff's department also, and I
Right.
check the records and talk to officers there all the time. Very friendly, very accommodating. They certainly have risky job out there. So I would suggest that next time you see an officer, you know, thank him for his time too.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really do put an effort forth to be human.
Yes.
And they really do have a big heart, or they wouldn't be out there doing what they do. Now, you know, you get some complaints about bad ones, and I know that there's been in the national news some really ugly stories, but not here, not in our backyard.
Well, actually,
they're good guys.
Yeah, and actually, you know, there are some bad apples out there, and you know, the officers want to remove those bad apples just
Sure,
as well as
right,
you know
right.
the community does.
Yeah, and so they put themselves on the front line.
Yes, they do.
So congratulations on a job well done in Oxford to our deputies as well as our village police. And that's it for Oxford News this week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, go to your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us right here on OCTV Channel Charter 191. Charter Channel 191, I do that every time, or AT&T Channel 99.
But
I
you
do
know,
it all the time.
that's all right. It can happen once in a while. Coming up next, though, on OCTV, tune in for Oxford Local Sports. Then catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. Also join Dave Kenny in Auto Talk and Science in the News.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where your news is closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, in vino veritas, they say, but you find more than truth in a good glass of red. Oxygen in just the right amount is crucial. The airtight steel barrels often used for aging make it difficult and expensive to ensure a wine gets enough. Now, New Zealand entrepreneurs have created the Wine Grenade, a small, cheap gadget that can be plunked into the tank to gradually release a specific amount of oxygen, making sure your red wine is perfectly breathed. And on the microscopic front, a type of bacteria that cuts the solubility of metal oxides appears to thrive in radiation. It was thought that Geothrix firmitans would die after long-term radiation exposure, but the findings suggest that it could clean up nuclear waste by stopping it from dissolving in water. And on the omelet front, bird flu is cracking up the egg supply in the U.S., and since the infection took hold in the U.S. in April, 40 million birds have been culled, including 10% of the country's egg-laying chickens. As a result, the U.S. is starting to see a shortage in eggs. Their price has increased by 85% in the last month, and companies are looking at importing eggs or using egg substitutes. And you remember white nose syndrome. White nose syndrome has so far killed 5.7 million bats in North America, but all is not lost. Last week, 150 bats cured of the fungal disease were released back into the wild at the Mark Twain Cave Complex in Hannibal, Missouri. They have been exposed to soil bacteria that stop the fungus growing on the bats while they hibernate. Good news. And in Hawaii, 1 in 4 must go. Hawaii's giant 30-meter telescope, or TMT, is back in business after a hiatus of 2 months, but at the expense of other telescopes. When astronomers first came to build on Mauna Kea in the 1960s, we were concerned, says Hawaiian activist Kealoha Paskata. Back then, in that day, Hawaiian people were oppressed and didn't have a voice. Hawaiians mounted round-the-clock protest against the new telescope, which would dwarf any observatory now in existence. Their objection? The mountain is sacred to indigenous Hawaiians. That voice has now been heard, but at a cost to science. On May 26, Hawaiian Governor David Ige announced that the construction would resume, but by the time the TMT starts operation in the mid-2020s, at least 1/4 of the 13 telescopes on the summit must be shut down. By 2023, the University of Hawaii will also have to abandon 40 of its 45 square kilometers it leases from the state and promise not to build telescopes on undeveloped land. Mauna Kea has some of the clearest, most stable skies on the planet, which is why so many observatories have already been built there. One of the 13, the Caltech Sublimiter Observatory, was already slated for shutdown next year. To meet Ige's mandate, however, 2 or 3 more will have to go, and at the moment, nobody knows which ones. And on the sports front, data-hungry athletes can't get enough of wearables, from the golf gadgets pros use to analyze their swing to fitness trackers basketball players strap on during practice. But ice hockey has been slower to adapt. Engineer Michael Hardiger wants to find a way to pull data out of a player's natural movements and show amateurs what they're doing wrong. In hockey, there are some specific things we know are optimal. For example, some beginners have their hands too high on the stick, he says. This system can tell you what to improve. To do this, Hardiger's team fitted traditional hockey equipment with a range of sensors. Instruments on the skates monitor where a player's feet are and how fast they're moving, and the stick too has sensors that can track pressure, strain, and motion. A smartphone app crunches the data and letting players review their technique and compare it to professionals. An algorithm can pick out different types of movement like jumps, turns, and power stroke, as well as the characteristics of a shot in the net. The prototype got its first test early this year at public ice rinks where players practiced skating and shooting while wearing the augmented gear. The testers included 8 professional players from the Swiss National League team EHS Olten, as well as the researchers themselves. Their results will be presented later this month at the Body Sensors Network Conference at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The system could be invaluable to amateurs, says Kim Blair, who works on sports technology at MIT. In sports, it can be very difficult to unlearn a bad habit. A coach might correct you during practice, but by the next day, you've forgotten what you were doing wrong. Intermediate and continuous feedback could be super helpful, he says. If you're looking at the performance of an athlete on the field or on ice, it's easier if you've got data on the athlete as opposed to watching a video. Well, that's all for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Woke up and for the first time, the animals were gone. Our clocks are ticking now, so before our time is gone, I cover my eyes, still all I see is you.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcats School Update. A lot of talk about school budget lately. Possible good news from Lansing. It looks like a compromise bill headed for the legislature could actually provide us with an increase per student rather than the $30 loss we were budgeting for. Time will tell. One of the graduations this week is for Oxford Bridges, our alternative high school. I stopped by Principal Aletha Van Loosen's office to check in.
We've done a couple of new things this year. We implemented what's called standard-based grading, which is where you take the Michigan standards that are required and you actually teach towards that, and that's what students are graded on. So it's not about did you turn your homework in, it's not about, did you complete that paper, it's do you understand what you need to know to pass this course, which we find is a much more effective grading system because you're actually grading on what students know or what you expect them to know as opposed to the behavior of did they turn an assignment in.
How many kids did you have this year?
We had 58 students this year.
58?
And we have 19 graduating, which I believe is the same amount we had last year.
About a year ago, we learned that Oxford schools would be taking back the Crossroads for Youth High School. There was a lot of scrambling to make sure things were in order for the start of the school year. As you know, students there are primarily assigned by the courts. Principal Shelley Chapman says things have been going well there. I asked if they brought any new programs on board. Social worker Megan Van Sickle chimed in.
Well, we implemented an art therapy program this year from a local art therapist in Lake Orion. They come in every other week and do art therapy broken up by units. That's been fabulous. The kids really love it. We're going to continue that throughout the summer.
Explain that a little more for us, would you?
Yep, we have, her name is Karen Smigelski. She's a licensed counselor in Lake Orion, and she used to be a teacher in Oxford. And so we got to talking with her, and she has an intern, and they come in every other week. So the girls will go together and the boys will go together, and they implement coping skills and problem solving into art and let the creativity come out with the kids as well.
We'll have more on Crossroads on Schooling Around. It was 5th grade exhibition time over at Oxford Elementary last week. The kids formed teams and gave presentations on everything from cancer to depression. Parents came in to view these efforts, which included a plan of action to help alleviate some of these problems. Principal Jeff Brown gave an observation.
One of my favorite parts of exhibition every single time is that there's kids that are so nervous to get up in front of a group and to watch them overcome that fear. We all want our kids to be successful, and I'll be the first to say that reading and math are, of course, extremely important. But the skills that the kids have to show to get through exhibition go way beyond just reading and math. That ability to speak, that ability to work in a group, that confidence that you need to be in front of strangers, those are tremendous life skills.
It was spring fair time over at the Early Childhood Center. They were celebrating the last day of preschool as well as the beginning of their summer programs. There was everything from face painting to balloons to hot dogs. There was bouncing and sliding and even animals. Pat Mueller explains.
This is our annual spring celebration. It's our last day of preschool, and we want to make sure that everyone has a great time to celebrate a really great year, and to also kick off our summer programs. We have summer preschool, we have programs for infants and toddlers, and for school-age kids. Field trips, all sorts of fun. We want to involve our families.
Pat checked in with one of the kids.
What was your favorite part? Having your face painted? That was really, really great. Did you have a chance to eat something?
Hot dogs.
Ooh! Did you love it? Yeah, the cooks did a great job. I heard the same thing.
If you have any questions about their summer programs, please stop by and pay them a visit. They're right behind Oxford Elementary over on Pontiac Street. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, are automakers spinning their wheels when it comes to infotainment technology? A recent survey of some 14,000 automobile owners seems to suggest they are. The study, conducted jointly by the polling firm Nielsen and Automotive Consultants SPD, found in general that manufacturers are jamming features into cars that most owners don't use and often are not even aware of. The study, conducted via online questionnaires in April and May, found that 43% of participants said automakers are adding too much infotainment technology to new vehicles and that infotainment features available now typically score low in owner satisfaction. Of 42 vehicle features, from hybrid engines to electronic suspensions to backup cameras, the 10 that scored lowest were all infotainment related. The worst, not surprisingly, was voice recognition. Others near the bottom included smartphone integration, built-in apps, and customizable instrument panels. Infotainment features that car owners typically ignore often include in-car hard drives for storing music. Most people keep their music on phones or iPods and don't bother loading songs into their vehicles. CD players. Many manufacturers wonder how long they should continue to build them into cars and let them go the way of, oh no, cassette players. And concierge services. OnStar has a large following, but other automaker services like BMW Assist and Hyundai BlueLink attract few takers after the introductory free trial expires. And voice recognition. The technology is improving, and the most recent crop of cars and light trucks are significantly better at understanding spoken words. But most consumers have had experience with in-car voice recognition, have thrown up their hands, and stick with punching buttons. Well, at Chrysler Fiat Chrysler Automobiles in the past year has delayed the redesign of or release of at least a dozen current or new vehicles in North America, according to suppliers familiar with the company's plans. The unusual number of delays could let the automaker defer billions of dollars in investment while it's searching for a partner. FCA's CEO, Sergio Marchionne, is shuffling product plans even as he seeks a partner for his company, the 7th largest global automaker. Marchionne says consolidation in the auto industry is inevitable because automakers are burning capital investing in overlapping engines and vehicles. Among North American vehicles, FCA has delayed updating our high-margin models, including the Ram 1500 pickup and the Jeep Wrangler SUV, according to 5 people familiar with the company's plans. Sales of pickups and SUVs account for more than half of FCA's pre-tax profit, according to industry analysts. At the same time, FCA is accelerating development of certain vehicles. The Alfa Romeo brand may be getting more models on a faster schedule than originally planned, suppliers told Reuters. FCA made its future model plans in the centerpiece of a 5-year, $50 billion plan that Marchionne outlined to investors in May of 2014, including boosting annual global sales to 7 million by 2018 from 4.75 million last year. Since Marchionne came out with his plan, at least 12 future vehicle programs have been delayed at Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, and Maserati, and in some cases by a year or more, suppliers said. A major redesign of FCA's large Chrysler 300, Dodge Charger, and Dodge Challenger, originally slated for mid to late 2018, could now slip to 2019 or later, suppliers said. Wow. And still at FCA, the Fiat Chrysler software mystery has been solved. The software issue that led FCA US to park hundreds of Jeep Renegades and later scores of Fiat 500X subcompact crossovers at a test track involved only the identification numbers of the vehicles, said a source with direct knowledge of the issue. The source said a software problem at FCA, not in the vehicles, could have prevented the vehicles from being registered in certain areas. The vehicles were stored simply to keep them from going to buyers until the problem was fixed, the source said. An FCA spokesman confirmed the situation and said only about 20 Renegades with the problem had made it to consumers before the problem was identified. FCA had been mum on why the Renegades and 500Xs were being held at a 2-mile-long oval test track at the former Daner Technology Center about 15 miles northwest of Toledo, Ohio. A company spokesman said it would now begin shipping the vehicles stored at the track to dealers. Renegades had been parked at the track for more than a month. The Fiat crossovers began showing up just before Memorial Day. The Renegade went on sale at U.S. dealerships in March, and the first versions of the 500X are due in Fiat showrooms in mid-June. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Your local business.
Your police department.
Your local business.
Your Village of Oxford.
The schools. Your parks and recreation.
Your community. Your community.
Only on OC TV.
Welcome to another segment of the news we call your weekly calendar of events, where we feature your weekly calendar of local Oxford, Addison community events, including charity, special fundraisers, and general community information. Now, if your organization would like help to get your message out to the public, contact us for detailed information at our studio phone number at 248-628-9658, or you can go to our website at occtv.org. June 13th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Oxford Garden Club will host a plant auction at the Smith Silo located in the Seymour Lake Township Park. The Garden Club is also interested in recruiting new members. For more information, you can go to their computer email address, oxfordgardenclub@gmail.com. During the Addison Township Hall renovation, all Addison Township meetings will be held at the fire station located at 1442 Rochester Road. For any additional information, call 248-628-3317. Hi-Yo Silver, organizers of this year's Lone Ranger Parade on August 1st are looking for sponsors. Sponsors donated $200 or more will receive a special big head. You might ask, what is a big head? Well, it's a large character image that fits over the parade walker and thus providing a fun and fascinating characterization for the reviewing audience. For more information, call the Lone Ranger Parade Director, Rod Charles, at 248-371-9100. Oxford Township Clerk Curtis Wright wants to alert the public that due to technical difficulties, their website has been down since April 25th. When will it be back up and running? Currently it's unknown. Folks needing government information can call 248-628-9780 or stop by the Township office at 300 Dunlop Road, just north of Seymour Lake Road. June 20th, starting at 9 a.m., the 4th Annual Eleanor Rocks Waterstone Fundraiser will begin. The event includes a 1-mile kids fun run and a 5K walk run. The proceeds will be donated for rocking chairs and to benefit sick children. Primarily, the funds will be utilized by birthing units and hospital natal intensive care units. Registration is $25 for individuals, $20 for students, and $80 for families of 4 or more. For more information about this great cause, call 248-765-3330. That number again, 248-765-3330. Family season passes are available at the Parks and Recreation Office in downtown Oxford for this year's Seymour Lake Splash Pad. 2015 year family passes are only $25 for Oxford residents and $50 for non-resident family. The splash pad will be open Memorial Day through Labor Day, weather permitting. See posted hours at the location. Play a part in keeping our lakes, streams, and rivers clean. Report activities that are causing water pollution, such as contamination to our lakes, rivers, and streams, or if you see anyone dumping unknown liquids into the storm drains and other surface waters, contact the Oakland County 24-hour pollution hotline at 248-858-0931. If you represent an organization wishing to show your support for our local Oxford school sports, music concerts, or any of the many programs broadcast by our TV station, you could become a sponsor or an underwriter on OCTV. A promotional television spot would be created and recognition will be given to you by our sports announcers during that event. It's easy and it's really quite inexpensive. For more information, contact our TV station manager, Bill Service, at 248-628-9658, or you can send a message of interest to Bill's email address, manager@occtv.org. Now, we at Oxford Community TV would like our television viewing public to learn more about your club or organization's special upcoming event or charity. So, if you would like to get your special event mentioned on our television show, call us at 248-628-9658 or go to our website, once again, occtv.org. Just one final reminder. You can locate our OCTV program schedule by going to our website, occtv.org, and clicking on Schedule. There, you will find a list of OCTV broadcast programs, dates, and times. And one program I highly recommend is Bill Service, who always has interesting local stories and interviews on Our Community Access program. Just check it out. This is Oxford Community Television OCTV. I'm your host, Elgin Nichols. We invite you to join us again for the next segment of your weekly calendar of events.